There's been some pretty decent movement from the projections and ownership earlier today.
All right, hold on.
Jordan Klein, you know I don't speak Spanish.
You don't? I thought you were fluent.
No.
Why is that so funny? Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Stochastic.com. You all right? You all right? Stochastic.com. What is this? NFL Live Before Lock Showdown edition? I believe that's right. Matt's shaking his head. Yeah, you got it. Saints, Chiefs. Fun game today at Arrowhead Stadium. 5.5-point spread. 43 last time I looked. 43.5-point total. We're going to break it all down. We got a good hour to go before kickoff, and I'm very happy, as always, to have you guys hanging out with us. Shout out to everyone getting us over 100K subs. Matt said he didn't have time to leave his house to grab a Four Loko today. Bogus excuse, Matt, but I do believe you'll come back stronger, and we will have one next Monday.
We will have a Four Loko in short order. Monday's busy work day for me, especially with everything wrapping up on the weekend, trying to get ahead of some college football lines. So usually I'm not leaving the house once the morning ends, and we ran out of time today. What can I say? I apologize. It's on me, but it's not forgotten. We will come back stronger.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We'll make it work. Happy to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, before we start the show, take a single second, atone for your sins this evening, bring some good luck to yourselves, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, subscribe to the channel and say hello in chat. You ready to talk some football?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. So, you and I did some of this morning, but still a ton to get into right now. Not a lot has changed. I swear, you and I have had the weirdest season doing these shows, because you get this crazy, might seem meaningless breaking news, but it's actually not, like the Britton Covey the one day. Last week we had, oh, you know what it
Jalen
was
Wright.
last? What?
The Jalen Wright thing.
Yes, the Jeff Wilson, Jalen Wright thing, which, by the way, I did go overweight on Jalen Wright. I stayed true to what I said here. It did not work in the box score because that offense is just dreadful. But looking back on that game, Jalen Wright outsnapped Jeff Wilson 28-2 and actually touched the ball a lot. It just didn't produce any yards.
Yeah, sometimes you just end up with that. But anytime you can, I mean, on paper, you see a leverage spot like that where he wasn't late scratch, but we kind of had a good idea Jeff Wilson wasn't going to play a lot, and he didn't the 2 snaps. And when you get that right before lock and you know the field is not going to be reacting as much as they should, I think you would run that back almost every single time.
The Godzilla said, yeah, for sure. The Godzilla said, I was going to subscribe, but I've already given all my money and subscriptions and subscribe to the Costco boys. That's good, man. You're making a difference in life.
Oh no, don't bring us back there. I can't.
All right, I won't do it. I won't do it. Subscribing to the YouTube channel is free, brother. Although apparently some people did not know that yesterday. But
yeah, we should probably just mix that in once in a while now.
I
it
think
is free to subscribe.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think it needs to be like a, hey, doesn't cost. I always say that I use my line, we'll happily refund your misery. Just click unsubscribe. I thought that was, kind of self-explanatory, but apparently not. Anyway, let's talk about it. A lot of comments. Maybe here's a good place to start. We can bounce around a little bit. A lot of comments on Hunt, Kareem Hunt, and Steele. Carson Steele, as you mentioned, owns an alligator. So a lot of people that watch the morning show don't watch or vice versa. A lot of people that watch the night show aren't here for the morning show, Matt. So we can actually start there. Not a bad place to do. Anthony says it's a tough slate for real. Yeah, it is, because the pass catchers for Kansas City are really difficult to figure out. There's just a lot of ambiguity surrounding all of those guys, not named Travis Kelce, and even him for that matter at this point. We don't really know. Like, is he just going to become a 30% target share guy with Rashee Rice out? I'm not sure you can guarantee that by any measure, Matt.
I don't know if you can either. He's the best bet for it if you were to make one. But I mean, this is far from a guarantee when you're like ranking the workloads of players on this slate. I for sure put Alvin Kamara ahead of him. And I think there's at least a reasonable argument to put a guy like Kareem Hunt ahead of him. We'll get to him later. But as far as pricing goes in relation to projecting the Chiefs' workload, although it's a little volatile, I still think Kelsey's a bit underpriced for the context of this slate. He's not hard to get to. He's not hard to jam with Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara, and maybe even another stud because of all the value. I'm just not sure there's anyone else that you could really rely on the Chiefs. Perhaps it's worthy, but outside of that, I'm having a hard time believing Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, and any of these guys are really going to see significant work.
And you're definitely paying a premium on Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, you are.
Goody with a super chat. What's up, brother? Thank you. As per this morning's show, with no great end zone targets, he's talking about Kansas City when you and I got into the whole kind of, only a couple for each of these guys. Would it not make sense to put Hunt in that probability of end zone targets, or is he priced out of it? I don't know what you mean by is he priced out of it? But yeah, I think Hunt could. I mean, I expect Hunt to absolutely be involved in the red zone, or in goal line opportunities. If I told you right now, okay, Chiefs 30-yard pass from the 31 down to the 1 yard line, what are, set odds on these running backs to get the goal line touch before we know? Kareem Hunt's the odds on is the clear favorite.
Yeah, you might even be like minus 500 for it.
Right.
And Steele, he profiles as a guy that could carry it around the red zone because of his size. But after the fumbles, I mean, that's the highest leverage situation you could have in football. Are they really going to put Steele on the goal line after he did that? And then Hunt came in, and Hunt was the third highest graded player on the Chiefs offense last week, according to Pro Football Focus. Maybe at this stage of his career, he's not dynamic or explosive, but he's reliable, and he already knew the system, so I don't think you're at any risk of him playing a limited role. He knows what Andy Reid wants to do, and he already had a red zone touch, a target in the red zone last week. It wasn't an end zone target, but I mean, that's right by the goal line. They're clearly willing to use him down there.
Derry the Platypus. And by the way, Goody, no, he's not priced out of it. Hunt's price point is, I think Matt said it this morning. Matt argued, and I agreed, that Hunt might be underpriced.
Yeah, I think Kamara, I don't know you could price enough. Kelsey's a little underpriced, and then I think Hunt is probably the next guy in that conversation.
Derry the Platypus. Okay. Somebody questioned me for playing Juwan Johnson over Foster. Can someone help me understand why? Can I help you understand why someone questioned you?
They're wrong.
Yeah, right. I mean, I can't help you. I mean, I guess Matt just helped you understand it pretty well. Yeah, in 2 words. Yeah, maybe Foster Moreau gets an end zone target and scores, but you've seen, I mean, he's out there to block in large part. He played fewer snaps than Johnson for the first time last season. And Juwan Johnson, his routes have trended upwards, 27 last week, while every single week Foster Moreau's have trended down to only 7 in week 4. So no, I mean, if there's a tight end, and Taysom Hill is out today with the fractured ribs, if there's a tight end that I'm targeting for the Saints, or looking to get over the field on, it's definitely Juwan Johnson over Foster Moreau.
Absolutely. We speculated on this. Foster Moreau is by far the better blocker. The Saints have about as worse of an offensive line situation as you could possibly imagine right now. It wasn't the best unit heading into the season, and they're down 4 guys that projected to be starters. If you were to go back in like the spring, they lost Ramczyk in the summer, and then Cesar Ruiz, Shane Lemieux. I mean, this unit is absolutely decimated, and it's kind of been a slow burn to get to the point where we are now losing just guy after guy. You also don't have Taysom Hill, who does a lot of the dirty work for you. So my speculation is these guys both played a lot of snaps, but the Moreau usage being mostly blocking could be attributable to this offensive line being so hurt right now. They're signing guys off the street, man.
Yeah, dude, they just picked up what's his name? He was a Jets starter, then they picked him off the practice squad.
I forget the name you're talking about off the top of my head.
But you know who I'm talking about. If I said his name, you'd know it. I mean, I've mentioned this guy many times in the past. I
Yeah,
just
I'll
can't
look it
remember.
up and find it.
Hold on, I'll tell you right now. All right, so starting at center is going to be Connor McGovern. That's it.
Yeah, that's not a good situation. Going
No.
from Ruiz to McGovern.
So the crazy thing is losing Eric McCoy. Like this is an like stellar. If you care about PFF grades, I think he grades as the number one center this season in blocking. I think pass and run block. Like he's been awesome, man. So no Ruiz, no McCoy. Lemieux was the backup center, and
He
then he's
stinks,
gone.
man. We saw him on the Giants a lot. That guy stinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not great. But they're banged up there. They're real banged up in the offensive line, which, I mean, it leads you to think, and I know Kansas City, no team has allowed more yards and production to opposing tight ends, whether it was Isaiah Likely, Mike Gesicki, even Kyle Pitts grabbing a 50-yard pass downfield, your favorite player. They've struggled against tight ends. You do have to wonder, though, does this end up being one of those games, knowing that, Kansas City has a good secondary. They have a good pass defense. They limit wide receivers as good as any team. Does this end up being a game where Alvin Kamara just gets that Derek Carr 12 target treatment and racks up, like 8 receptions for 30 yards, but has 11 points in PPR alone?
Yeah, I mean, if you are concerned about the coordinator change having any effect on Kamara, he is a 20.5% target share in this offense. At times, and this team wants to run the ball incessantly. Sometimes when they're passing, they're just using these dump offs to Kamara as an extension of the run game, which has worked for them for the most part. So I can't really poke that many holes in what Kubiak is doing. And he's certainly not working with a full deck right now, considering this offensive line and no Taysom Hill. But hypothetically, if this does matter and Chris Jones and these pass rushers are getting home, Derek Carr doesn't have as much time. You would think the safety of Alvin Kamara would be busy in this game and busy often.
Also, you talk about being concerned. It's not only the passing down work, but last year we saw him get opportunities in the run game. Obviously, he's their RB1, but this year, I mean, he's getting everything, Matt. I mentioned it on this morning strategy show. If you go and you take a look at just his snap share, it's up a ton from last year. The last 2 games, which have been compared, first 2 games, I don't put too much stock into, how much time he was on the field. He's played 82 and 86% of snaps over the last 2 weeks. For a guy like Alvin Kamara, that's a massive number.
And I would argue he's in less danger than normal because Taysom Hill is out. It's pretty clear that Kubiak doesn't want to use Jamal Williams or a secondary back at the same rate that Pete Carmichael did, which I think behooves them. I mean, you just do the simple math. You probably want your best players on the field as much as possible. And the Saints are dealing with a talent disadvantage at a lot of positions. So getting the player that actually is a difference maker on the field more makes sense. But now without Taysom Hill and without that extra threat around the goal line, you would think his workload is even more secure. I think he has the best workload by far on the slate when you factor in receiving, goal line. If they are in the goal line often, it'll be him. But yeah, man, I can't really poke any holes in it. Even in a bad game, he could catch like 6 balls and still get there.
I mean, does he have the best workload in the league?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, who would you? So many of the backs that were drafted highly, maybe Jordan Mason.
Could
But
be
Jordan Mason doesn't catch as many balls.
Exactly. Over the last 2 games that have been competitive, Alvin Kamara has 45 attempts. Jamal Williams has 2.
And what about Taysom Hill?
Well, he only played one. He played one of them, and he had 6. So yeah, exactly. So between Jamal Williams, Taysom Hill, and Kamara, the last 2 games, competitive spots, 45 total attempts, 55, sorry, 45 to Kamara, 6 to Hill, and 4 to Jamal Williams. Now you take Hill out of the equation.
I guess probably the best question with Kamara is just how much captain are you willing to get? You and I were debating this. And, since this morning, I think we've had more movement in the Sims tool than normal, just with some of the moving parts for these teams. And I mean, we got some reports from the Chiefs and stuff kind of solidifying Juju is the presumed beneficiary. So there has been some movement. in like our top stacks tool or our top single game showdown plays tool. But I've been getting more Kamara as the day has gone on. Just unencumbered run of the Sims. I got 50% in the captain. That's just how good of a play we're talking about. I think you certainly want him in your lineup. The conversation becomes where do you play him and at what rate are you comfortable with him in the captain?
So I did cap him, but at 40%. And I think that's reasonable.
I do too. And part of it is alternatives. So you have the Chiefs expensive guys. They look worse, I think, now that there's no Rashee Rice. He was very clearly the guy I wanted to play. Honestly, it's probably Hunt. But then, I mean, you go to the Saints expensive players. Derek Carr has no mobility. And honestly, the ceiling is pretty capped for him just with the Chiefs on the other side and the offense being hyper condensed. It's Kamara, it's Chris Olave, and it's Rashid Shaheed. But then you look at the target shares between Shaheed and Olave. We're talking a 1 target difference between them on the season, and Shaheed's the one ahead. So, I mean, I've been trying to middle this situation a little bit, thinking, all right, maybe Olave doesn't quite have the role we projected preseason, but I still think over the course of the year, he'll come out ahead. He's still 10K, man. That is still too expensive for a receiver that's probably going to be in like the 27 to 28% of targets for one of the run heaviest offenses in the NFL.
Against a very good secondary, no less. And
that is true, yeah.
And a good pass rush. So that's, I don't want to sleep on that. You're talking about the offensive injury or the injuries to the offensive line. We already know the Chiefs have a lot of injuries to their offense. Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown still hasn't played a game this year. But what about the fact that you still have Chris Jones in one of the best pass rushes in football? And now you've got a makeshift, offensive line that's going to have to compete with that. Like that could be, I mentioned that I had bet New Orleans earlier in the week at 5.5. And when I did a video today, I'm like, I can't really recommend that to you right now. Just knowing how beat up this offensive line is. Like if this game is won or lost in the trenches, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, I don't like this could be a complete game wrecking situation. The Chiefs have a pretty good defensive line just outside of what they have from Chris Jones too. Karlaftis has been a guy that's really improved over his years in the league. He's kind of been a slow burner, so a lot of people don't actually talk about him, but they have a lot invested in their pass rushing positions. Didn't they spend a first on Felix Uzoma? He was either like the 33rd pick or like the 32nd pick. He came out of Kansas State. I mean, that's another former first rounder, at least early second. It just escapes me right now where he actually went. That's a lot invested on your D-line, man. And going up against this O-line, this could be a huge mismatch and wreck the game. And I guess on the Olave and Rashid Shaheed topic, the best way to exploit the Chiefs is over the middle of the field. And tight ends, you mentioned this, have done a great job doing that. That's a Juwan Johnson area of the field. Kamara is going to be out there more. So it's tricky to get to Olave and Shaheed. And I guess the bottom line with it all is these guys are not priced efficiently. They're too expensive in comparison to a guy like Kelsey. You go down to him from Olave, you're saving $1,700 against the cap. You're likely looking at more targets and at least a better target share in most situations from the offense that's far less banged up around the foundation, offensive line, places like that. And honestly, the skill position injuries only help Kelsey.
Yeah, question two. And they do only help Kelsey for sure. The injuries to the linebacker, let's just be clear here. There's a lot of injuries in this game. Like there's a lot of significant players who are injured from this game. So it makes things a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more difficult. Like you and I were talking about Noah Gray earlier as someone that's actually viable. Noah Gray could end up being a guy. If you had to guess, how much 12 personnel do you think they run in this game?
I mean, they were all with Rashee Rice. They were already at like 40 to 50% in some games. Like it's pretty crazy how high they've been using 12 personnel. And Andy Reid's a wizard. He likes doing weird stuff like this and getting mismatches, using players creatively. But I mean, when Rashee Rice left last week, Noah Gray immediately went up to 32 out of 62 offensive snaps. He had over a 50% snap share.
They ran 12 personnel 24% of the time last week. But I don't think that's necessarily indicative of what you see in a game.
That doesn't add up.
What's up?
That doesn't add up. Kelsey had 54 offensive snaps. Noah Gray had 32 out of 62. That's more than 24.
Hold on.
Jared Wiley had 10.
All right, then this is wrong.
Unless they're counting like alignment stuff, like maybe Noah Gray was lined up in the slots, they counted him as a receiver. I'm not sure where you're looking or how they actually chart things. Perhaps it's, Kelsey's in line, Gray's in the slot or something like that, semantics. But they had 2 tight ends on the field a ton.
Okay, then this is probably wrong. Either way, I was gonna say you could just see it more tonight because who are your other options? This is what it all comes down to, right? How much time did we spend on this morning? The pass catchers for Kansas City. Because it's tough. It's a really
but
tough
important.
spot. It's incredibly important. I read the target shares off to you this morning, right? For Kansas City this season.
Yeah, I don't know if I can bear to hear it, but the people need to, so.
Yeah. All right. So for the Kansas City Chiefs this season, your target shares, and here's what I'll do, Matt. I'll do weeks 1 through 3. I'm not even going to include last week, although last week, outside of Travis Kelce, it's not going to make you feel much better. I mean, Juju didn't have a single target, right?
Yeah, he's the best wind sprinter in the game right now.
Yeah, he's giving Mecole Hardman a real run for his money. Sky Moore a real run for his money. All right, so 33% Rashee Rice. You know who was second in target share through the first couple of weeks was Isaiah Pacheco. He's gone. That was through the first 2 weeks, but Kelsey was at 13.8. Xavier Worthy was at 13, 12.6. Pirine 9. Watson 5.7, Gray 5.7, Juju 4.6, Carson Steele 2.3. And then just like, I mean, look, even Patrick Mahomes is at 1.1.
Trick play, I'm guessing. I don't recall that play off the top of my head.
Yeah, it got batted and he caught it.
Oh, it wasn't intentional. Okay.
No. It was, if I recall correctly, I think that was Mahomes. I think he caught one, and I think it was against Baltimore in week 1. Either way, how do you crack this cipher, which is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes offense once you get past Travis Kelce? I have some ideas, but let's hear where you're at first.
I do buy into the extra 12 personnel thing. Noah Gray has quietly been a pretty good tight end through his career. I almost wish he was on a different team so we could see him in a full-time role, because every time he's on the field, he actually produces. So I think they might actually increase his involvement and then use him in the pass game, because the alternatives are Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, just horrifying receivers that we actually have a pretty good sample on, most of them just being complete dust. Outside of Noah Gray, I think it's Justin Watson, just from last year. He played a lot last week. Now he's not going to be targeted a ton. And I would probably put Watson just slightly ahead of Noah Gray for the locked in role he's going to have. It's probably going to be somewhere in like the 60 to 70% route share. He's not going to get a lot of targets more than likely, but he's at least out there more than Juju, I would project. Same thing with Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, these other receivers on the team. Third, I would go Juju, and that's based solely on the reports that have come out that he projects to play the Rashee Rice role. I don't think he's involved anywhere near as much as Rashee Rice, but I guess he kind of profiles as that like big boundary receiver that Rice
how
is.
ridiculous. He's gonna play the Rashee Rice role.
I mean, they don't have any other receivers with size.
I know.
So maybe it matters for blocking, but I mean, he is a far cry from that kind of talent.
It's not fun. Who would you
But if you're going to have like a big receiver blocking, why not just put Noah Gray out there? Like Juju can't do anything.
And also, I'm admittedly a Noah Gray fan. Maybe it's because you and I have done 4+ years of Showdown slates where Noah Gray scores a touchdown, right? Like just always, he's somehow always there. Or us doing a Showdown slate for the Super Bowl over for the past 5 years or whatever they've been in there. And it's always like, well, there's no value, but there is Noah Gray. So, maybe we just have an affinity for this guy. But I will say, and I've watched a lot of Chiefs game. I imagine you have, and everyone here has, because they're always on TV, even if you don't have Sunday ticket. whatever the hell it's called. Every time I watch him, I go, Noah Gray's not bad. Like, I always feel like he's a decent player.
I think he is, man. Like, he's a player that was drafted by this organization. He was a good pass catcher in college. You can go all the way back there. He hasn't really had any blips on the radar. He just is behind Kelsey, which is a tough place to be, but he's reliable when they use him, and in 12 personnel, he's completely fine. Also, like, the Chiefs are projected to win this game. You'd think they run the ball more. I don't know, heavier sets. I think it makes some sense. I think I'll probably still have Watson ahead of him. I think I prefer him to the other receivers, though. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I would rather have Noah Gray than Juju. I certainly would rather have him than the Hardman Sky Moores. How would you rank these guys? And this obviously does not include Worthy, who's in a different price bucket.
All right, so I would go. Well, obviously, and I know, we might do this a little different, but obviously Kelsey, number one.
Yeah, I was just going the cheap guys.
Right. I know. But I'm saying why don't we work down the list? Why don't we work from top to bottom?
Sure.
Kelsey, number one. So is Xavier Worthy still, this is the thing, is Worthy still number two, even though he's 9,400?
Are we factoring in price or just doing roll?
I think we have to factor in price. We're doing a DFS show for a showdown, and that 9,400 is not inexpensive.
I'd rather have Kareem Hunt.
Oh, we're talking running backs too? Okay.
I was just talking pass catchers, man. Like, Kareem Hunt is a decent pass catcher.
Okay, yeah. Well, then Kareem Hunt's clearly number two for me. Clearly, if we're including running backs,
he has 8 targets already.
Kareem Hunt might be number one for me, but I put him behind Kelsey, but Kareem Hunt, assuming his role, a guy that's super familiar with this offense, and after what we saw last week, yeah, definitely him and Kelsey up top.
Excuse me, he has 3 targets. He had 3 targets immediately.
Yeah, right. The guy just came off his couch, 5 days before that?
Yeah.
Okay, so so here we go. Let's have some fun with this. Once you get past Kelsey, Hunt, and Xavier Worthy, is it Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, or Noah Gray? Because I think I still put Justin Watson next.
Agreed.
What's that?
Agreed.
Yeah, only because Mahomes never looks Justin Watson's way like 8 times a game. It's not going to happen. But when he does look his way, it's downfield. So on a slate like this, where we're pretty confident that there's going to be a spread out target share, as we not only saw, last week, but also all of last season. And that was with Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco in the offense. Aside from that, it was super spread out, very difficult to figure out in showdowns. Justin Watson at least has the downfield threat in him. And then after him, I would honestly go Noah Gray over Juju.
I think I'm there too. That one's the closest. Route still did favor Juju, but I'm not 100% sure that's the way it'll be. With Gray, it's like, who else is going to take snaps from him? There's actually legitimate candidates that could take snaps away from Juju.
So maybe I'm just wrong on this, but I feel like on this Kansas City Chiefs team, route participation rates are just less important.
I agree with you. Andy Reid has all these creative schematic game plans. We see it around the red zone all the time, where he's running these weird shuffle passes to tight ends and running backs. He clearly has plays designed for specific players. And we've already seen this with Xavier Worthy a couple times, but that doesn't mean it won't be someone else. He has a lot of players that hypothetically are like gadgety type guys. Sky Moore, if he ever could figure out his career, would be someone used in that capacity. Same thing with Mecole Hardman. They sort of draft like these gadgety skill players and try to use them in specific ways.
Right. But also, they also have had so many times where, like last year, you remember this, you have so many instances where a guy like Sky Moore, before essentially getting benched to close out the year, he's playing 70% of snaps. He's running routes on 60, 65% of dropbacks, and he's still seeing 1 target a game.
They're very willing to use these win sprinters. I mean, how much time do we have? Sky Moore,
Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yeah.
Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
We could go for days on this. How
Mecole
many years
Hardman's
back do we
another
want to go?
Mecole Hardman's another one. Yeah.
Mecole Hardman. Watson to some degree is this.
Right. No, Watson definitely is. But like I said, Watson's the type of guy that can at least, you know, give you a decent game on occasion. Okay, so once we get past Xavier Worthy, we go Justin Watson next, right?
Yes.
All right. Are you going Gray or Juju here?
I'm going Gray.
Me too. Then Juju. Then
Sky.
I mean, I don't even know what the snap share is going to look like here, but Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman.
Man, there have been a lot of fun win sprinters for the Chiefs.
A ton.
Byron Pringle, Demarcus
No,
Robinson.
do not disrespect the chip. Byron Pringle. Dude, Byron Pringle, do you not remember this? Every Thursday night game or primetime game that Byron Pringle only scored in primetime.
I remember Byron Pringle very well.
He went to the Bears after that, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he flamed out. I believe he went to Kansas State for college.
Go back and look. You must remember this. Byron Pringle somehow would have these games and showdown sites where if you didn't have him, you lost. But then every other game at like 1 or 4 o'clock, he would have 0 for 0 and 0.
Didn't he have like 50 catches in a year? He wasn't a complete win sprinter. He had a good year. Like he got a free agent deal.
Did he? Yeah. Did he have a 50 catch season?
I don't know. He had a good season. I can't remember how good. Let's see here. Byron Pringle stats. This is outrageous. He caught 42 balls in 2021. So not 50, but 42 catches. That's not bad. Justin Watson and Kadarius Toney, these guys could never dream of that.
No, the 42. How many touchdowns did he have? Like 3 or 4 that year?
5. They were all on Thursday night.
I'm telling you, they were all on Thursday night, man. I swear. I swear. But all right, so that's I'd say a decent breakdown there. How about Samaje Perine and Carson Steele?
Perine worries me a little bit. He's still taking some third downs. I thought there was a chance he might handle all of them, but he's not. So it's nice that he's splitting them with Kareem Hunt. Carson Steele, man, I just don't know if they're going to have him on the field really at all anymore. I would be surprised he had 11 snaps after starting. Once he fumbled, just boom, right to the bench. And basically that was the end of it. So with a veteran in Kareem Hunt, who did play well when he was out there, and no, he's never going to give you elite play like a Breece Hall or a Bijan or something, but he's not going to cost you in games. He can pass protect. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. That's been a strong point in his career. And at this point, with all the advantages the Chiefs have, strong offensive line, you still do have Kelsey and Worthy, and obviously you have Mahomes. Like, what do you really need out of your running back? So if you have a serviceable player who's reliable like Hunt, I'm not sure why you'd really take him off the field.
You know, I thought about bumping his projection down a little bit and moving Kareem Hunt's projection up, right? Because I think we have Steele around 4.5 or so. The reason I didn't do this is because I'm already getting a lot of Kareem Hunt.
Me too. And I like that. You can go and look at the projections, of course. If there's a chance we have Carson Steele over projected and we're still getting this much Hunt, I'm completely fine with it. I don't think you really need to mess with it. It would only be if I wasn't getting enough Hunt, but I'm getting a ton of this guy.
Yeah.
Like flex, captain, all over the place. He's in nearly, let's see, 65, 70% of my lineups, rough math, combining flex and captain ownership.
Right. I have a lot of them too. I have a pretty egregious amount of them, which I'm actually perfectly okay with. And yeah, if you want to check out the projections, obviously you want to check out the Sims tool or the single lineup sim. I already saw people in chat, Matt, asking if Jordan, and shout out to Jordan producing this one and running those, if they could run some of their lineups in the single lineup Sims tool and just get instant feedback on that. It is, I mean, what it is just, it's a perfect combination of old school hand building, which people still love to do, but just isn't as profitable anymore, and new age DFS where, you know, you have to have some advanced tools in order to compete week to week. And if you wanted that, we have, look, 4 different subscriptions. Jordan can throw it up there as well. The link in the description and in the chat. right? If you go in there, link in the description and chat. We only have one now. We condensed everything. It's no longer like 8 different links. You click that, it takes you to everything, weekly or monthly. Even if you just want to shop around and you're not ready to grab anything yet, you'll see the essentials, which has the lineup generator, the pick six optimizer, underdog fantasy optimizer, prize picks, and access to premium Discord, which all of them do. Then you get into the light version though, a little step up, but now you get player projections, ownership projections, the single lineup sim as well, which has just been a huge hit early on in the season, and the post contest simulator, which allows you to simulate all of the contests that you were in and see how your lineups perform from a sim to ROI perspective, whether or not you are building good lineups. Move up to core. You have literally everything. The only difference between core and the max is that in core, you can sim up to 1,000 lineups in the sim. Max is 10,000 lineups. So if you're not, playing 150 or a single entry guy, playing some of the smaller field stuff, you don't even have to bother going the max. Core's right there for the taking, and it's the best value we have. But yeah, look, I use these tools every week. Ben always says, Matt, like with Showdown, he would lose everything if he didn't just run the sims every single week. And they've made me a much better Showdown player but much better Showdown player by a mile, because sometimes it's hard for my brain to process those type of lineups that do well in Showdown. It's not easy to be like, hey, I'm going to play this lineup that looks crazy and has a low percentage chance of winning, but when it wins everything and doesn't chop.
Yeah, man. I used to do things as basic as just put caps on my kickers because you have this heuristic of kickers don't have upside.
Yeah.
So then you're coming into slates with like just 10% kickers, and maybe the kickers are an excellent value on that slate. There's no one who's near the Stoneman, whatever it may be. So it's helped my process in that way, just not making my own mistakes by, getting in my own way. And it does lead you to those constructions that people aren't doing. One thing I really like for Showdown in particular is it'll tell me how many lineups are duped. Whereas in the past, you would just have to basically guess at this. You're like, oh, these couple guys are really owned. Maybe I'll just set an ownership cap on the slate, but now it'll just straight up tell you, which has been huge. You don't have to worry about that as much with our tool. It literally just tells you how many dupes there are projected to be. And it filters out the ones that are super duped if they don't have a high ROI.
So if you guys do want to check it out, again, link in the description. Jordan threw it in the chat as well. It'll take it to the next level, hands down. Pretty confident in that. It has for me.
That single lineup, man, when you're out with your friends, like a college football Saturday or something, and you're at the bar, you want to play something, but you obviously don't have the full tools. It's a game changer. It helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to just sit those slates out or build something stupid.
Yeah, right. Where you're just basically like, the players, but you haven't dug into it. So you just throw something together quickly.
Yeah.
Of course. You could, the single lineup sim, or I mean, I know it's not optimized for mobile, but I've run the actual sims on my, like if I'm out doing something, I'm like, you know what? I feel I want to play. I'll run the sims and I'll just take the top couple lineups and throw them into like, say a spy, there's something like that.
You can do it. I think it was Tom one time. We were in like some meeting or something, and I think he was the one that said he did it on his phone one time. I was like, damn, really? So I've actually tried it too.
Well, I'll never forget the guy that was watching our show and took the top sims lineup on Owner's Box and was leaving his softball game in his car, getting ready to leave, threw it in there and shipped the whole tournament. So yeah, it's doable, man. And we optimized the single lineup sim for mobile. All right,
it works real well. I can tell you that firsthand.
Chris Williams, appreciate you as always, brother. Gifted 5 stochastic memberships. Try and bring himself some good luck here. Yep. Juju over Watson in targets, ? If I had to project, let's see what the props are. This actually, here's a great exercise, Matt. Let's take a look at reception props for the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you say?
Let's do it. I mean, if Juju is projected higher, it has to be solely on that report that he's playing the Rashee Rice role. I don't know what on the field that they've shown so far has suggested he should be ahead.
All right. I want you to guess. What's Xavier Worthy at?
4.5.
Okay. 3.5, but juice to the under. But 3.5. Juju's at 2.5 on FanDuel. Over this is crazy, plus 126. If you wanted to take over 1.5, Pinnacle's got it at minus 208. So they've heavy juice to the over, but they haven't moved it to 2.5, Matt. Just tells you people would jam under 2.5 on Juju. Like they've got these sitting here. DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM, Pinnacle, just sitting at minus 200 on 1.5.
I can't really poke any holes in it, to be honest with you. I think that's a really efficient line for Juju. They have Watson at, is he even projected on there?
Yeah, hold on. Justin Watson. Did you want to guess?
It's got to be the same.
2.5. Yep. Yep. 2.5 plus money on the over, plus 136, plus 140. This is what we're dealing with today. This is crazy.
It is
nothing
crazy,
on
yeah.
Hart, but nothing on Moore. Kelsey's 5.5, pretty standard juice on that one. Kareem Hunt has the same receiving prop, better as a matter of fact, less juice on the over, as Justin Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster. How about that?
That's my captain right there. Let's get him, Hunt.
You know who else does? You know who else is at 2.5? Noah Gray.
I'm in on Noah Gray, man.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this. It's amazing what type of slate this is. Juwan Johnson, 2.5. Juju, 2.5. Noah Gray, 2.5. Kareem Hunt, 2.5. Samaje Perine, 2.5. Justin Watson, 2.5. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, let's hope we're right in our reads, man, because there's some leverage to be had here, I think.
Where is it?
I think it's figuring these guys out. And for you and me, it sounds like it's going to be Noah Gray.
It does sound like it's good. A 4 for 40 game from Noah Gray could be massive on this slate.
Yeah, man, it would be huge because you might take zeros from like
That's
2 out of these 5 guys.
Yeah. It's Sotex. What's up, man? Appreciate you. Member for 28 months. Matt, using his free super chat just to say he was saving this one for 100K. Congrats, guys. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much.
Greg told me that Sotex had been following Greg's work all the way since he was at like Basketball Monster many years ago.
Well, Greg's a sharp, so hopefully that's been profitable for you. I'm sure it has if you've been following Greg for that long.
Yeah, man. Chris Williams, member for 18 months. Been longer than 18 months, but changed my CC 100K. What's that mean?
I don't know. Is that a computer thing?
I don't know. Let me know, Chris. Devon Maya, what's the most salary you'd leave on the board?
I actually was looking through this a lot today. The most I think I would go tonight is around 3K. I had some lineups that were in like the 4.7, so like 4.79, 4.74. But honestly, most of my lineups were in the 4.8s and 4.9s, and I went and parsed through them. I think part of the reason is you can go a little higher in salary tonight in general is just the dearth of options among the cheap players. You don't need to be leaving like 5K on the board in order to get a contrarian lineup. You can make some that are pretty close to maxing out the salary and still being pretty contrarian with not that many dupes.
Brandon Wagner, thank you, sir. I know this is always a tough one, but what are your thoughts on the 0 QB build?
I actually don't have a problem with it. That's another thing I went through my lineups to try to figure out. Obviously, there's a fair amount of Derek Carr and Mahomes, especially in the flex. But I mean, just in my current run right now, I have 25% Derek Carr in the flex. Mahomes a lot more at 60%, but barely any of them in the captain. So, I mean, that tells you right away, there's a good subset of lineups in here, maybe 15, 20% that have no QB.
And Goody asked, would you guys use uniqueness on a showdown, and what would you set it at? No. I was actually talking to Tom Kennedy, our CEO, about it today. I was like, do you think it's viable at all? And he's like, no, there's just not enough combinations. So he's as sharp as they come with anything. So I would say no. I don't think you need to use uniques on this slate. Where he's talking about with the Sims, Matt, obviously the new feature.
Yeah.
With uniques. I don't think so. I actually tried it just to see what it would look like, and I just didn't love what I was getting. I'm not doing that on a one gamer.
Yeah, it's more of a risk management thing than anything else. It helps you spread yourself across more players, but it's a single game. Do you really want to be spreading yourself so you're just inherently increasing your exposure to Sky Moore and like players like that? I personally do not want that. It's different if you're running this. I mean, I guess I should say that's if you're running 150 or a lot of lineups. If you're only playing like 20 or something, I could maybe see it. But even then, I don't think it's necessary.
That's a good point. Yeah. You know what I mean, what I did instead of running uniques is I just capped Kamara's captain exposure.
I did that actually myself after
What'd you
you
cap
said
it at?
40.
Yeah, me too. And maybe we end up being wrong, but I was getting like 50 and I'm going, that's a lot. Oh, he corrected me? Get out of chat, Tom. Oh, he said I was talking about entering 150. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. I thought would, but as far as combinations go, yes. But thank you, Tom. I had a feeling he'd be in there. Thank you, Tom. All right, let's go to Josh. How do we feel about no QB lineup, single entry? I mean, we kind of just answered it, right?
Yeah, I think it's fine if that's your position of leverage. The QBs obviously project pretty well, especially in the flex tonight. Mahomes, especially. He's the guy you got to worry about more than Carr, I think, just with the Saints being extremely run heavy. But you could definitely do it. It's right now without Rashee Rice. Kelsey's probably the biggest threat to Mahomes as far as just captain. He is the highest target share. But let's say Kelsey doesn't command like a 30% target share tonight. Mahomes has to spread it to a lot of guys and a lot of dusty guys in order for him to be like the optimal captain over all of them. So, I mean, I could definitely see it. I'm going to come in with right now, I have 10% Mahomes, but I'm pretty comfortable with that, honestly. I don't really know if I want that much more with Kareem Hunt and Kamara, and then, of course, the pass catchers on this slate, and Kelsey being too cheap, just flat out.
Yep. That Kelsey price is tough to get away from. 10% captain for Mahomes for me as well. Nathan Perkins, Noah Gray and Johnson crazy to play together? No, not at all.
No, I like that.
Yeah, and if you've listened to anything we've talked about on the show too, not saying you haven't, Nathan, but assuming you have, the pass catchers, once you get past, Kelsey, Olave, Rashid Shaheed is live to have like 2 for 20 on any given slate. So no, I don't think it's crazy at all to have Noah Gray and Juwan Johnson. How confident are we in the Juwan Johnson projection? It looks good. We have him. Yeah, no, it looks good. If you want to boost him, go for it. I don't think that's crazy, but no, you can't. I actually considered boosting him, Matt, but then I'm thinking, like, what am I actually boosting? Yes, the guy saw season highs in routes run last year or last week and season high in snaps, but they still haven't gone to the tight ends, and he's still not, like, as much as we like him as a value play today, it's because there is, it's just because he's 2,200, not because he's a guy that should be way more expensive. He probably should be 2,200 at this point. So I'm not going to boost him at all. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to take what I get from Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, me too. Try to be very careful with the boosts in general. When I use them, it's generally for roles that are uncertain, roles that are changing. Think like the Bucky Irving situation where he could take on more because of his efficiency. Juwan is already playing a lot, and he's in a very defined role. And I think there's almost no way his target share rises towards the Shaheeds, Olaves, or Kamaras. Those three are commanding 70% of the New Orleans targets right now. And it's probably going to be around there, if not higher in certain games. So what does that really leave Juwan? You're getting a ton of him with all of that taken into account. So like an extra boost on him, I don't really think is necessary.
Me neither. Chris Williams super chat again said, sorry, meant when you change your credit card for your membership, it took away my previous months. That's bullshit.
What?
That's bullshit. Been here longer than 18 months, and congrats on 100K is what I meant. Appreciate you, man. Loco on Thursday, Chris said. Nah, Matt's not doing a loco at 9 a.m.
I'm on projections on Thursday. It's not a good idea.
Now, next Monday, live before lock. I think that's a very fair compromise.
Okay.
All right. But now, since you missed today, you're going to have to do 2 of them. No,
I've done that before.
I'm sure you have.
It wasn't pretty. It was my college graduation. My parents were thrilled.
The one you got what? You got tuned up?
Yeah, I had 2 Four Locos, shotgun the same day.
Malcolm. Greg, who's captain MVP on both sides? Well, solid attention to detail, brother. Who is he's asking Greg, Matt. But for captain, maybe Greg's in chat. He definitely is not. Okay. Kamara, for me, Kamara, Hunt, Kelsey are my top 3.
He said MVP. Does he mean FanDuel specifically?
Yeah, he said both sites. So he's saying I think go ahead.
I think Kelsey's a much better play on FanDuel. Hunt is pretty expensive over there. I still like him. I still think he's a good play. But in relation, he's like 1,000 less than Kelsey.
Yeah, that's true.
And Kamara is very expensive on FanDuel. FanDuel, the pricing makes you think a little more than this slate.
Yeah. So who would you go on FanDuel?
I think Kelsey's my favorite on FanDuel.
Goody, what about Kelsey and Gray in the same lineup? I have no problems with it whatsoever. Again, the whole reason Matt and I have talked about Noah Gray isn't because we think that he's just going to supplant Travis Kelsey. It's because there's a possibility that with how, and I'll use Matt's phrase here, how dusty these receivers are, that maybe Noah Gray ends up having a sizable enough, not sizable role, sizable enough role, even alongside Travis Kelsey. So I don't know about you, Matt, but I have zero issues with Kelsey and Gray in the same lineup whatsoever. For all you know, he's the second guy in targets on this team tonight. You just don't know.
Yeah, you really don't. That could be the case for sure. And plus, he's not expensive, so you don't have as much opportunity cost. It's not like you're playing Likely and Andrews together, you know? Like if Noah Gray, let's say he doesn't even see an increased role, in his current role, he could still pay off his salary because he's so cheap.
Right. By the way, you guys have 6 minutes left until lock. I assume most of your lineups are in. There's still almost 1,700 of you with us. If you're still not rocking the stochastic, I've been seeing them everywhere lately. The beautiful new ones as well. If you're still not rocking the stochastic avatar, stochastic.com/HOF. Download it. Any one of those 6. Pick is yours. Upload it, use it wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, doesn't matter. Any site. Because if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, doesn't matter if it's a 5-cent entry or a $500 entry, and you tweet your wins to us, it's Stochastic HOF, you're getting $200 value Sims. You're getting the max. Single sport Sims max. Or Sims, sorry. If you win twice in a calendar year, because we've completely revamped this, you're getting another month $200 value on top of the one you already got, plus a week of any other sport. So think about that. It's NBA time. It's early November, and you just hit for your second time. You got silver. So you're telling me now you got football for another additional month, plus a full week of basketball. They play 7 days a week. Get rid of the dog picture. Look, I'm sure your daughter is very cute, adorable, and everybody loves her, but she's not making the extra money when you bank a tournament. I'll tell you that much. The stochastic avatar is. Gold 3 times, Sims max, $550 value. And as always, $20,000 win. Throw them up there, Jordan. Let's see it. Let's see what you. Oh, look at them. Look at them glisten. Matt, aren't they gorgeous?
They are gorgeous. Can we get one? Can I enter myself into the Hall of Fame?
If you have a 20K win, you're damn right you can.
And I didn't know we were part of this.
Of course, I'll put it together for you myself, man.
All right, we got some work to do.
Jim Parrish, yes, stochastic.com/HOF. Again, top 3 field of 5,000 or more. Just tweet your wins to it. It's a simple process. Some people seem to have trouble with it. Jim Parrish, would you use Chiefs for captain tonight? All right, good question, actually, Matt. I'm gonna kind of rephrase this. Would you use defense at captain tonight, given the Saints offensive line injuries, given the Chiefs injury woes in the offensive skill positions? Would you do it?
Yeah, not in a large portfolio or not in a large portion of my portfolio, but I think we kind of laid out how it gets there. Maybe they just have a lot of success up front, creates pressure for Derek Carr, leads to sacks and turnover-worthy plays. You convert a couple of those at their price, they could easily be the value you need. And if they score a touchdown, yeah, they're live to be the optimal captain at any point.
Who else do we want to dig into here? that we haven't talked about? I mean, I guess we didn't touch much on Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, I think they're both a little too expensive. Honestly, one last question I have is in some of these lineups, would you rather, instead of gambling on the Chiefs dust, would you rather just go down and play like Mason Tipton for the Stone Min?
Gambling on the Chiefs dust. Uh,
He's dust too, but he's at least Stone Min
uh,
dust.
I think I'd probably still give me the dust.
I agree. And I largely think the answer is you don't need the extra salary. Like I like my lineups quite a bit with Justin Watson, Noah Gray. I didn't find myself needing the extra 1,000 or 2,000, depending on who you played ahead of Tipton.
Yeah, listen, I will take the dust. I don't want to, but I think I'll take the look
Well,
with Tipton is they're 5.5 point dogs on the road against a great secondary. And he has no more of an expanded role than any of the dust.
I was just going to say it's probably worse because
Yeah.
New Orleans uses a ton of weird formations. They use a fullback all the time. Adam Prentice had 24 snaps in their last game. So once you start mixing in fullbacks, two tight ends, like they're going to use two tight ends at the very least. I wouldn't be surprised if they involved the third. It's a lot of snaps that are coming directly from Tipton. They're not coming from anyone else.
Would you go to any other backup running backs, Jamal Williams, you name it?
It would be Jamal Williams. I think if you forced me to pick one, the only other guy who's interesting is Pirine, but I'm not a fan of the price.
Neither am I. You're not going to any backups behind Jamal Williams here?
I don't think I can click Mims, man. I don't think I can do it.
I can't either. There's just not enough meat on the bone. If you had to project how many snaps he's going to play, it's like
4.5. What do you think? I was being serious.
I was going to say 2.
Okay.
I don't. If it's a close game, I don't see him getting any opportunities at all.
I didn't know he was on the roster until earlier today.
Me neither. Matter of fact, I didn't know he was on the roster till I saw that I had one share of him at captain, so I went and zeroed him out.
That'll do it.
It's true. All right. You got your lineups in?
I'm good. I made sure I was on track of myself today. I had a scare on Saturday.
Oh, is that not the worst feeling?
It is, especially when you're on the show.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know how you do it.
Usually I have myself prepared. It's when I get myself in trouble accidentally, like getting behind or Saturday, specifically was a crazy late news slate. So I'm out there updating projections and stuff and then trying to be on live before lock and get my lineups in. So that was tricky.
Appreciate you guys. You're the best. Fun show as always, man. You and I will be back here Thursday. You know who we got? You know who we got for Thursday Night Football?
I don't. You're going to break some news. Who is it?
Niners Seahawks in Seattle.
Wow, that's a sick game.
Yeah, and both of them coming off to brutal losses. Like San Fran, 7.5 point favorite, drops that game in San Francisco to the Cardinals. I had Cardinals in that game, not outright. Dude, I saw something today that 6+ point dogs are like 16-2 against the spread this year, Matt. And I think they have a winning record straight up. Think about that. A winning record straight up is 6+ point dogs this year.
Yeah, I was looking at some of this after like week 2 or 3, I can't remember. And it was astonishing how many just big money line dogs have actually won, like Patriots in week 1. People that are playing Survivor, if you're still alive, congrats to you. That is impressive.
Is it even possible though?
I don't know. I got out of my week 1 or my Survivor pool in week 1, so I haven't even followed it anymore. I was just stone dead. So I don't know. If you're still alive, man, like that's crazy.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys though. And yeah, for what it's worth, Seattle and San Francisco, again, 6+ point favorites, lost outright last week. So we're gonna have some fun on Thursday morning.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
See you guys back here for the next one, and good luck tonight. Peace.